All right, the morning after, the night before. So the fallout from the Day of Reckoning card. There was some good results on there. There was some good fights. It was a card that I personally enjoyed. But we got to talk about Deontay Wilder versus Joseph Parker. Obviously, Deontay Wilder losing, and not just losing to Joseph Parker, but being completely schooled and not even being able to really get a foothold in that fight. His timing was all off. He wasn't able to let the right hand go at any point, or even when he did let it go, it had no great degree of accuracy, and there was no urgency in there from Deontay Wilder. It was really strange to watch because I've watched Deontay Wilder through the majority of his career. I've stayed up for many of his fights. I've watched him. I've always enjoyed watching Deontay Wilder. And I always enjoyed watching Deontay Wilder because I always knew that even in a fight that he could be getting outboxed in, he's aggressive. He's going to look for that right hand. And to an extent, he's going to wait. But he's not going to wait so long. You know, once he kind of gets a little read in the fight, he's going to start going. And it's not even that he waits. He'll let right hands go from early, but sometimes he just needs, a couple of rounds to get the proper trajectory right. In this fight right here, it was just, you're watching it, and although you know what Deontay Wilder is, he's looking for that one shot. There was never really a point during the fight where you really actually felt it's going to land or he's really going to start throwing it. It was probably the worst performance I've seen from Deontay Wilder. Even in those two losses to Tyson Fury, he was letting the shots go. He was missing, but he was letting them go. In the second fight with Tyson Fury, yeah, he was beaten up by Tyson Fury, but he was still letting those right hands go. He was missing, and he was coming close to Tyson Fury. At least he was letting them go. In this fight right here, it was... I honestly, it was bizarre to watch really, because having seen how ferocious Wilder is, how devastating he can be, to see him like that in there, I really do wonder how you come back from that. Now, he has toyed with the idea of retiring. I think that's kind of something that he's talking about, but based upon that performance, I would say that probably would be advisable. And look, it's not for me to say a fighter should do this or do that in terms of, what they should do with their career, but Wilder is a fighter who, obviously we know, very ferocious fighter, goes in looking for the KO, looking to take your head off. And now we're seeing a fighter who just really goes through the motions, has no real degree of timing, fights at a very low output. And it's always been, you could always outbox Deontay Wilder, but now you can outbox him by the looks of things and feel comfy in the fact that I give him a little bit of movement, or I move my head a little bit, and he's befuddled, he's confused, he's not going to let that right hand go. He's lacking that aggression. When you lose that trigger, what they talk about, when a fighter is there in the moment and they just can't pull that trigger, that's a sign that it's done. It's not that the power is gone, the power is still there, but they just can't let that big shot go. It's there for you, but you just can't pull that trigger. Or if you do pull it, you're not just missing by, an inch or two, you're missing by a chasm almost. There was times in that fight where Wilder did let the right hand go. He did set himself up for it. And it wasn't even that, Parker could be there and the right hand was going there. It was so bizarre seeing how far away it was. And then there was other times in the fight where you could tell, right, he's looking to set himself up for the right hand. But his footwork has never been the best, Deontay Wilder. But this was particularly bad. This was particularly bad in there. And that could be something that maybe is not necessarily an indication that he's a shot fighter. That could just be an indication that the training set up, which has never been amazing. You look at the fighters who've come out of Deontay Wilder's gym in Alabama. You take Malik Scott out of the equation. You look at the guys like JD's. You look at some of the fighters he's trained. What's the guy's name? Dion Nichols or something like that. He fought a PBC guy a couple of years ago and he got ironed out in a couple of rounds. He looked as obscure as anything. His footwork, everything was all over the place. Marcellus Wilder, people like that, they really seem to just focus on one aspect, which is your punching power, and then they just say, right, if you can do that, you can do anything. Well, no, it doesn't work like that. Then you add Malik Scott into the equation, where he obviously knows that Deontay Wilder doesn't like the truth. I think that's fair to say. He doesn't like having to face the reality of what's going on in the ring, but surely you have to show a bit more urgency, and at least it's not even that show him the reality of what's going on in the ring, fix the flaws that are there. Because under Mark Breland, I don't recall his footwork was never amazing, but it was never that bad. It's crazy. And I do wonder, had a Mark Breland been in the corner last night, what he would have done. You know, he wouldn't have stopped the fight or anything like that, but he would have been animated, more animated than I think his team were, and they would have been saying, get your arse in gear, you're losing this fight. You know, get that right hand going. Mark Breland wasn't there. He hasn't been in the team for 3 years now. All because, why? He threw in the towel in a fight that Wilder was getting battered in. He had his fighter's best interest. Do these guys have Wilder's best interest? I don't think so. Not really. So here we are now. Wilder takes a loss, a convincing loss against Joseph Parker. Yeah, he didn't take any real abuse in there. You know, physically, he could probably go again tonight. Realistically, you know, there was no real abuse in there in terms of physical abuse. He took a few right hands from Joseph Parker here and there, but that was really it. But I think everything else, I think technically he seems to have regressed a bit under Scott. And I just don't think physically, maybe even mentally, he has it in there anymore. So, and Deontay Wilder, I think, kind of, again, in the post-fight interview, he almost resigned himself to that maybe it's just not there anymore. The Joshua fight isn't going to happen. Maybe now we see why it appeared that Team Wilder didn't want to go down the road of facing an Andy Ruiz, because that fight was being talked about earlier on this year as a potential final eliminator for the WBC title. Do either guy deserve that final eliminator? No, not really, but they were going to do the fight nonetheless, or they were talking about ordering the fight nonetheless. Ruiz seemed, okay, seemed keen for it. Team Wilder didn't. Maybe deep down that team knows something. They spotted something in camp and said, you know what, we need to hope that someone like a Joseph Parker, who has shown, not questionable heart, but questionable desire, we could maybe get through someone like that, and then a big fight with Anthony Joshua. That was the plan. Going in there against Ruiz, someone who I think stylistically would have not been bad for Deontay Wilder per se, but maybe they thought otherwise. Maybe that's why the fight never happened. Well, it looks unlikely it ever will happen now. And for Wilder, again, 38 years old now, a loss like that, I don't know. I don't think there's any coming back from that. I could be wrong, but I don't think it. And I think even Wilder at this stage in his career, he's checked out mentally, it sounds, by the sound of things. Other avenues outside of boxing, doesn't have that hunger that he used to have by the looks of things in the ring to just go and, really lay his opponent out. I think that might be the last we see of the Bronze Bomber. If that is the case, I loved watching Wilder. As you will know, he was one of my favourite fighters to watch because you just never knew when that shot would come. In terms of Parker, hey, let's see what he does. I will leave it there, people. Let me know your thoughts. Do you think that is the end of Deontay Wilder, that he is done? Or do you think that maybe it was just an off night and that he can come again? Let me know in the comments. I hope you enjoy the video, people. Smash the like button if you could. Hit subscribe, of course, if you haven't already. Probably going to do a live this evening at about 7:30. We'll do a little fallout, the aftermath of the events. So let me know. Hopefully you can tune in for that. But for now, I will leave you with that. Peace.